Okay. Well, welcome back to the Rockhound Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a very special guest tonight, a return guest, and I will belabor this introduction no longer and let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Thanks so much. So my name's Mem Lambo, Fossils. No, my real name's Morne, but known as Mem Lambo, Fossils on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram as well. And what I do is I live in New Zealand and I find fossils and I also prep them. So you might have seen some of my crab videos, and recently I did a penguin. So I'm very much an amateur, but hopefully soon one day I'll be qualified because I'm going back to university this year to
Nice.
do a BSc.
Nice.
So I'm really into fossils and I do enjoy agates as well.
Thank you. It's so good to have you back. Can't wait to hear more about the amazing things that you've been finding lately. All right, and then Kurt.
Oh, what?
It's your turn. Who are you?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was here, but yeah. My name's Kurt with Rock.Hounding.Adventures out here in Western Colorado.
All right, welcome back. And Walter?
I am Walter, and I'm alive and stuff, and back after what feels like over a month. Probably because it was about a month that I've been gone.
Yeah, we've been missing a few. Yeah, it's so good to have you back.
It was before Christmas the last time I was here.
Wow.
And I've missed you. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of catching up to do. And so I'm Karen from Ozone Fine Art Ventures here on the fossilized Oregon coast. And we'll get right into shouts so that we can get into the nitty gritty with Morne. So first of all, thank you, Jared from currently Rockhounding, for coming on the show last week. That was always a pleasure and informative and interesting. And so too did Lisa Largent 45 found it to be so, as well as Claude from Kalgoorlie, Johnny Rockhounding, who's also from Oz, I believe, and Blind Squirrel Rocks, Ivan Lopez, Rock and Roll Rockhounding, Debbie Feist watching from Seattle, Trevor Allen watching from all the way there in New York. James Hislop was very thankful that we gave him a shout out for his channel last week, and he's hanging out at the gem shows there in Arizona right now. So I'm mad jealous about that. Have a good time and hug some rocks for me. Sandmaker answered some questions that we asked him last week. He is logged on 11,000 and 21 miles in 2022 on 2 vehicles. He does put pins in many maps, and he's starting his 23rd year out on the road this year. And
wow.
So yeah, nice. That's heavy duty rock hounding situation there. Thank you for sharing, Randy. Dustin Finds Rocks has some big news, and so then it was like a cliffhanger. Like, so you're gonna have to come back and let us know what those are, at least in the comments, dude. Cody, I'm gonna say this wrong, probably Idler, says that he always has his drinks on the rocks. And so cheers to his fellow rockhounds, he says, and cheers, Cody, to you. And cheers to all of you in the Discord and in the chat right now, chatting away. We love you. Them's are the shouts, and let's go on to how everybody's week was. And so, Morne, how about you get us started on how your week was?
Thanks, Karen. So first week back at work, which is always a bit of a downer. Have day jobs, so it's taken away a lot of my rock hounding and fossil hunting time. But also what I've been doing is I've trying to resurrect my micro aerobrasion setup. So I've got a micro aerobrasion setup, but trying to get material in New Zealand is difficult, because we don't have anything between 50 and 100 microns. There's a lot of your bigger bits, for sandblasting, which won't work. It clogs up my air filter. I've tried that. So what I did for an entire afternoon is I bought a bag of dolomite fertilizer, and I sifted that to between 50 and 100 microns, and it was it was literally backbreaking work. The next day I got out of bed and I couldn't stand up straight. It was just crazy. So that was the entire afternoon this week. So I've got about, I would say, call it maybe 2 kilograms, 4 pounds of material now that I can use to sandblast. And I've got a few projects lined up that I want to use the sandblasting for. So it's kind of my go-to is the air scribe firstly, then acid, which is by vinegar. And then if that doesn't work for some things, then I'm going to try the micro air abrasion. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Otherwise, I've got a few things always in the acid bath. I'm just looking for where it is now. I'll show you one of the ones I'm working on. So this is the one of my finds that's been in there for a while now. Don't know if you can see those vertebrae sticking out. I'll have to email you a proper photo. But those are shark vertebrae. So Miocene shark.
That's cool.
So there's 1, 2, and there's just a third one starting to show now. And they're associated, and there's also a little bit of, I'm hoping, something interesting like a tooth over there. So it's a concretion full of shark bones, and I'm hoping there's some teeth in there. That's why
that'd be so cool.
Cool to find.
Yeah,
Shark bones soup.
Yes. So they're pretty much impossible to prep with the air scrubs. It's because they're so flaky. So I'm just putting it in the vinegar. And then I've also been playing around with a new 3D scanner. So I was sent this 3D scanner to try out.
That's cool.
It's a bit bigger than the other one I've got. Yeah, and this has taken my workflow down. So you still get the best results with photogrammetry, but it takes you like 5 hours to do one model. It's a lot of work. Whereas I can do one in 15 minutes with this. So it's a very quick process.
Heck yeah.
So I've just been getting my head around how that works. I'll make a video of that soon. But it's got 2 modes. It's got a color mode and it's got a black and white mode. And black and white is fine for fossils because there's not much color. It's basically the rock and the bone. So I'm fine with black and white. It's mainly for 3D printing. I've got my 3D printer here next to me. So I want to be able to share all the fossils so people can 3D print their own. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Oh, that's so cool. Very, very exciting things on the horizon there.
Heck yes.
I know we're going to get more into like the use of these 3D printed objects too. It's so cool. Man behind the curtain.
I just want to say congratulations, if no one said it yet in chat, for 100,000 subscribers.
Woo! Yay! That was like a goal when I started out. I was like, I want a play button. Finally,
you will get one. Trust me. We'll get one.
They actually send you a code. I don't know if you know, but they send you a code. And then you have to go redeem it, and then they send you the play button, apparently. So I've got the code. So I'm thinking I'll get the play button, and then I'll put it in cement and then prep it out. See how that
yeah.
Cool.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Nice.
It'd be only fitting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if you break it, I believe you can actually order replacements. So,
okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure you can order a replacement.
Yeah, YouTube's weird. I mean, I don't know how the algorithm works, but I'm glad I got 200,000.
Yeah.
Heck
It was well
yes.
earned. I don't think it's so weird.
Oh yeah.
They love you. Thank you, Kyle, for that. Awesome. So does that pretty much wrap up your week for now, Mem Lambo?
Yes, and now it's weekend, so I can go fossil hunt again. It's I'm a day ahead, so I've finished work for the week. So probably tomorrow morning, quick fossil hunt. Got 1 or 2 areas I want to go look for. Got a few plans.
Heck yeah.
Sweet. All right. Thank you. How about you, Kurt? What's up?
Not much, just cold. We got another winter storm that blew through, brought about 6 inches of snow. And so I've been indoors just wire wrapping, and which you guys will see on the new pieces I just finished yesterday for show and tell. And trying to think if there's anything else. I realized my cat likes being vacuumed. Every time the vacuum's on now, he runs to it.
Wow.
Trying to think. It hasn't really much been going on just because it's been so cold, and snowy outside. I've been wanting every day. I keep saying I'm going to go outside and do some cutting because I have some stromatolite travertine pieces I want to cut, and some agates and some opal I want to cut, but I just haven't been able to because it's just so cold. Every time I try polishing and cutting outside, it's like when I get halfway through the cut, my hands are frozen. And
it's so wet. It turns you into a cat that doesn't want to be vacuumed or anything. I mean, you know, like I get like wet cat-itis when I look outside and it's cold. I'm like, nope, not gonna do it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how the week's been going, right? Yeah.
He's not talking to his 3D printer. Right on. Well, thank you, Kurt. How about you, Walter? Alive and stuff.
It's been crazy. The last 5 weeks or whatever it's been since I've been on has been madness. But good things. It's kind of the inverse of you, Kurt. I used to only be able to cut outside, and now I never have to cut outside again, which I'll talk about more during show and tell. But ever since I acquired said thing, I've been doing nothing but that, and it's probably getting to a point where it's not a good thing because I'm obsessed at this point. Again, I'll talk more about that later. But
none of us know anything about
that. Yeah. No. The people that have watched last week's video know what I'm referring to. Just forget so that you can learn it for the first time in whenever we get to show and tell. But other than that, I've been working on a project for the second channel, which is seriously one of my favorite projects I've ever done. It came out so awesome.
It's freaking done tomorrow, cool.
Isn't it? I love it. It came out so good. And the funny thing about it is I started it 3 years ago and just never finished it. It's been sitting on my bench that long, and I just tired of looking at it sitting there, barely started. And I was like, no, it's time to do this. So I went through all of 39 of my SD cards to find the footage of when I started it. And I literally had 2 little clips. Just started the video.
Oh, were you a baby?
We're doing this. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do it then because my videos were not great during that time. That was my first year on YouTube still. So I'm happy I waited for it, but I'm also irritated at the same time because it was super intimidating to start, which is why I just never came back to it. It took 3 or 4 days to do. I'm okay, so I waited 3 years to do a project that I could have had done in a week. Anyway, though, it came out awesome. That video will be out on Saturday. It's seriously one of my favorite carvings I've ever done. It's so cool. Nice. And carving and fossils are involved with that, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, big fan there.
Yes.
Awesome. Anything else, or is that pretty much
Yes, actually. I have another new tool that I'm going to be making a video on, but not yet. I have to order something for it because I tried doing it without, and it's just not working. So we have to wait for that to get in. And I have another new tool, which will be here on Tuesday, which is literally the tool I've wanted most since I was 18 when working at a wood shop. I've wanted this tool for so long, and it's so awesome to finally have one in the shop very, very soon. So hopefully next week's podcast, I will be able to reveal what that is, but it's exciting. It's super cool.
Tools for everyone.
Yeah, I've been kind of swimming in tools lately. And slabs and cut rocks.
I can't think of a better problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pretty much wraps up everything. Oh yeah, duh. I almost forgot to mention, we're going to Florida for 17 days, and we leave in 2 weeks. So look forward to some Florida hunts coming very soon, including some Pleistocene fossil hunting, some shark tooth hunting potentially. Yeah, I'm so excited. Tarek knows of a spot where I might be able to find my first megalodon, so I'm fingers crossed on that one. But also, he's going to take me diving for agatized coral. So that's the big one that I'm the most excited about. That's going to be awesome. So
really cool.
So yes, I will be sharing those videos as soon as they happen.
All right. Okay. Well, y'all have the week and the weeks to come for Walter. Very, very cool. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. And I've been fascinating. Surprise. And doing more of that. I too got an additional tool for my fastening machine. I was doing my 3K and the 50K on CDs. And those are like the last of the pre-polish and the polish. And CDs are awesome, but it does take a really long time. And so I splurged and I got myself a bat lap. And
Nice.
I can't believe I'm not right there right now, because it's like I just came yesterday, and yeah, I just can't believe how much easier it makes the whole job. Like, good tools make the job so much easier, and such a less amount of time, and the precision and all the things, like, you know, the all the air scribe, or not the air scribe, but the micro
air abrasion.
Yeah,
I want one so bad. That's next on the list.
I want the air scribe and the micro thing and everything too. I mean, you know, it's just like, yeah, rooms of your house just devoted to certain rock pleasantries. And so there was that, and then we're having the king tides right now, so we're having high highs and low lows, which is always good news. But for the fact that we are having beach hazard warnings all weekend long for this set of the king tides, so it's not a good idea. And you know, I'm looking longingly at the beach, going, oh, and there's folks down there. Let's see, I'm spacing his name here for a second. But we have a fossil extraordinaire, Kent Gibson. Yeah. Of course he's down there anyway. Finding, you know, like amazing articulated vertebrae already and stuff this year. And so there's plenty of stuff to be had. It's just you got to go in between the sneaker waves, and there's not really any generous washouts at the moment either, so gravel's not really showing. Waiting for some sand to get removed, but that's pretty much the culmination of what I'm doing, like vulturing on the cliff sides, looking at the beaches, and then of course fastening all the rest of the time. So that's the weeks. Let's get into some juicy tidbits with Morne. So first of all, there's like the big, amazing bucket list discovery that you finally made. Like, you want to kick us off with that?
I'll go grab my penguin. One of my penguins now.
Oh, that's the coolest.
But before I do that, we've also got king tides, so it must be linked.
Crazy.
Hashtag
it's that
science.
Yeah.
It's the same moon or something. Let me just grab it quickly.
It's probably a big UFO in the middle of the ocean that's pushing all the water towards either side.
Yup.
So
I can't believe you outed the UFO, Kyle.
What? It's the moon.
So if you've watched any of my videos, you might have heard me go on about finding a penguin. So since I started fossil hunting here in New Zealand, I've always wanted to find a penguin, kind of just because it's where the biggest penguin in the world was found. It's if there was a national fossil for New Zealand, penguins would be right up there. And some of the earliest penguins have been found here, like up to 60 million years, 64 million years old. And finally, like in, was it August last year, on one of our remote beaches, I found a boulder with just a little bit of bone sticking out, the leg bone and a bit of the skull, and I'm like, that's a penguin. I could just make out the bones in that. And 5 months later, here's the penguin.
That is so unreal.
It is so
cool.
So yeah, when you look at it from the top down, you don't really get an idea of how 3D it is, but it's, you know, you've got the wings here. So I'll stand up actually. So there's a wing coming here. This is the humerus and the radius and the ulna. There's the wishbone. So this is the wishbone like you would have in a chicken. So there's the wishbone. There's a bit of the skull. So not the whole skull, but that's the skull up top there. And you've got the sternum with the keel. This thing over here. That's the coracoid, so going up into the shoulder. And here's the other humerus. So it's so symmetrical. It's kind of like
It's posing.
Yeah.
That is so
just,
cool.
yeah, it's crazy. And you've got the ribs. I don't know if you can see the ribs coming
Oh
out.
yeah, it's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're very
That's
delicate,
easily
so I have
done.
to be careful with them. And I've kind of left a lot of the rock up here because I had to work on the back of it. So I didn't want to damage it when I flipped it over. But I'll send you through some high-res photos of this. And then there's the back of the neck vertebra. And then there's the little tail down there.
Oh,
So
so
the little
cute.
penguin tail. There's a leg, and there's a leg. Yeah, so it's very complete.
It is so good.
So cool.
And you never know, you might find that little pebble with the head in it.
Yes. One day. And
Stranger
so
things.
in the most diagnostic bone in a penguin is the tarsometatarsals bone. So they would have been down here at the end of the leg bones. So I was a bit bummed that they weren't in the concretion they were missing. But for some reason, just that one bone has found its way, and it's sitting at the back there. So that's the
wow.
the TNT right there.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some photos. But just that one bone can kind of tell the paleontologist where in the penguin lineage it is.
Oh,
Yeah, so
cool. And so
I still
that
can't believe it's done.
so
It looks
it's
so
crazy.
good.
is this gonna go live at a museum or
So
excellent.
yeah, so I've been in touch with a few paleontologists, and there's a couple that are keen to study it, so I'll donate it to a museum. So it has to go into the public collection before they'll write a paper on it. So I'll donate it to them, and then they'll hopefully write a paper on it. It'll take like 2 years. It's a long process, but for initial thoughts is it's a new species, so it's an unknown species, and it might be
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
might be quite an important one because it might be kind of where the species split, or whether it might be a new genus or it might be a new species. So it depends on that. But yeah, initial thoughts are it could be. So that'd be exciting. Then I get to name it.
Any thoughts on the name? Not yet.
No, not yet. So this well, potentially the second or the third new species I found. I've named one, the albatross, I named after my dad, but that paper hasn't been written yet. So this might have to be my mom. So otherwise I'm playing favorites, but we'll see how that goes.
That might be a smooth move on your part.
Yes. Then also, so just a bit about the prep. Most of the rock was removed with the air scrub. So just removing the rock, and then the last millimeter or half a millimeter I leave on the bone. So you don't have air scrub marks on the bone because you want that outer surface. And then that's where the vinegar comes in. The vinegar dissolves that last little bit. And the vinegar I buffer with calcium triphosphate because the bone is phosphate. So if you put a lot of phosphate into the acid, it will choose not to attack the bone. It will rather go for the calcium carbonate, which is holding the sediment together. So
that's a great hack. Thank you.
No kidding.
Yeah. So this is and you can buy tricalcium phosphate at a very expensive amount of money, or very large amount of money, or you can just go to your your DIY store and get some bone fertilizer. So you get like you just want something with a lot of phosphate, and you just dump some of that in there. It takes a bit of the potency away from the acid, but you anyway working with like 5% acid. But yeah, I think there's probably about 100 hours on the air scribe, and then maybe 50, 60 cycles in the acid. It's a lot.
Wow.
That is a lot.
Cycles in the acid. Yeah. And one other thing, I'll send you a photo of this, but that thing over there is the claw. I don't know what it's doing there, but it's like a little raptor claw.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same
so
thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like. That is so neat that's showing. Wow.
Yeah, and the tarsometatarsals bone over here is very similar to that of a T-Rex and other dinosaurs, theropods. As if you look at that, it's got the 3 bits going into the toe bone. So yeah, it's very, very similar.
Oof. Wow.
Some cool pathology on here. I think I'm using that word correctly, but pathology is where there's differences in the bones.
Yeah.
There's the coracoid over here, so the shoulder's dislocated there. So you can see on this side it's flat, so it's flush.
Yeah.
And over here it's all completely dislocated. And on the same side, over there, there's a break in the it's not the, what is it? Is it the highway bone? I forget now, but the wishbone, the furcula. So the furcula is also broken. So it might have been squished a little bit, and that's why it's kind of out of place. Yeah.
Imagine that. How many million years old do we believe this is?
I think it's between, it's around about the 3 million to 6 million. It's a little bit tricky, but hopefully when they write a paper, they'll get some better dates on that, because the areas, because it's found on the beach as a loose pebble, it's not from the cliff, so you can't give it a definite, it's from this layer. But there might be some microfossils in here. So I've kept the little chips that I've chipped off there. So there might be some microfossils, forams and things floating around in here.
That could help date that then as well.
Yeah, that can help date it. The other distinctive feature in here is in the coracoid over there. There's a little gap there, and some penguins, the gap's fully enclosed and some are open. This one's enclosed. So that can tell you a little bit about the penguin, but this is probably like the rockhopper penguin, kind of that species size. So not like an emperor penguin, but not the smallest one. So it's like a medium-sized penguin.
Wow.
That is so cool.
I can't. It's awesome just holding a penguin, like a fossil penguin, like, right? And it's everyone is just amazed how articulated it is. The bones are exactly where they're supposed to be. I mean, normally you see a fossil and it's just like a jumble, like the bones are just all over the place. This one, it's like you bought it from the supermarket, and it's just like, it's just like a turkey.
Perfectly packaged. Some shifting might have happened on delivery, but
it's crazy. And what's really good with prepping a bird is, because I spend so many hours looking at it, you get to know the anatomy of a bird really well. So I'm like, now that's the furcula, that's the coracoid. All those things just get really natural to you because you spend hundreds of hours looking at it.
So one thing that has always intrigued me, and I'm wondering if this might happen with this guy, since especially if it's absolutely new, will an illustration be created? Would you maybe make something like that out of 3D imaging, or what's the they are paleo artists, so they'll know enough about anatomy to say, okay, give me something between a rockhopper penguin and whatever its ancestor is, and they'll be able to say, the leg should be a bit shortened, or the beak should be kind of like that. We don't have the beak here, but they'll probably be able to give us something like a penguin beak. And the size, the coloring will be a guess, because who knows? But penguins are generally, darker patches at top. And the rockhoppers have that bit of yellow, I think, those yellow feathers going top. So wow, that always, I think, is very exciting to me when there's an illustration created from something that we have absolutely no idea about, based on the science behind it. That's so exciting. That'll be like a pay dirt day, I think, for you to see your penguin.
It would be. Should I show you the other penguin I've got?
Of course. Please, by all means. Well, Walter, I think
I heard that a minute ago.
Dog action, or it's the ghost of the penguin or something. I'm not sure.
So still in the middle of the prep status. This wasn't found by me. This was found by a young fossil hunter, Marlonique. She found this and asked me just to give it a prep because it looked like those could be penguin bones. So I just followed that one bone in, and that's actually the humerus of a penguin right over there. I think it's a penguin. Look, it could be something closely related, but it doesn't look like a flying bird. It looks like a penguin. And I've kind of followed the bone over there. You can't see it well, but I sent you some photos. and it's come all the way to here. So it's the entire wing of a penguin, yeah.
Oh,
So the rest of it will be inside there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very,
And
very
this
cool.
one's quite a bit bigger. Sorry, there goes my chair. It's a heavy rock.
Nice.
So it's about 50% bigger than the one I found. So it's a bigger bird. So a different species probably.
Was it from a similar location, or was it from
probably
someplace?
within 150 feet of that other one?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hot beach.
So, yeah. Very similar.
Okay.
But yeah, it's got all sorts of bones sticking out down there. So I think this is some of the leg bones down here. And yeah, there's the wing at the top, and the shoulder is just underneath it. So there's the shoulder bone sticking out, the coracoid.
Didn't you get help seeing inside your first penguin?
No,
You didn't?
I got help for the whale teeth.
Yeah.
So I've got the whale teeth there at the back here. I'll grab them quickly. So these teeth are huge. I haven't found a megalodon tooth, but I keep finding all sorts of other things. So that's one tooth going in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's some more teeth over there. So this is from something similar to a sperm whale. So pretty decent sized teeth.
Yeah.
And it was scanned by a neutron scanner in Australia. So because it's such a dense rock, X-rays don't go through it well enough, but neutrons go through them. So they had to get it next to the nuclear reactor there in Australia, and they scanned it. And now I've kind of got a really good idea of where the teeth are, so I can start prepping them.
That looks quite a bit harder than the penguin matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard.
It looks like the salt, like just,
that little bit over there took me about an hour and a half.
Oh, that hurts.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I don't know what else is in there, so I have to go really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
This is also why I've got that micro air abrasion, because I'm thinking I might have to prep it using that. I'm not sure if, because it's got so many cracks and things in there, I'm worried that the vinegar will seep in there and start eating at it from the inside out. I've tried to seal it up as much as I can, but if there's just a little, micron big crack, it might go in there. So that's one of the challenges. But yeah,
that is so cool.
I think there's about 5 teeth in here, so there's quite a few teeth in here, and they're big. They're like, I'm thinking now, if I look at that, they'll go into that size kind of thing.
That's intense.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
That seems like the type of thing where you'd be wanting to look at an aid, the visual aid that we were talking about before. Like, okay, I want to see some sperm whale teeth and know about like what I'm looking at.
Yeah. They're very weird looking. They're not like shark teeth, because they're more like plesiosaur teeth, those, or mosasaur teeth, where they've got the really big root section with the little bit of dentine at the top.
Yeah, I remember going to the John Day Museum here in Oregon, and they've got drawers where you can pull out the teeth. And I'm like, oh, you would never, ever, ever think that this is like the tooth of a hippopotamus here in Oregon, like an ancient hippo or something like that. And how many of these did I like pick up, and it looks like a piece of chewing gum and like just throw away or whatever, So so it's so helps to be able to see what you're looking at.
It does, yeah. That's why I love this 3D printer. I can literally, there's a site. Sorry, I've got sand all over my new laptop. It's one of the hazards of fossils.
Collateral damage.
There's a site, so it's not Sketchfab, but there's another site, and I forget the name now, where you can go and download the actual CT scans of animals. So they haven't been turned into 3D models, and there's pretty much every animal you can think of. Someone has CT scanned it somewhere, and it's the raw images. So imagine the TIFF is a TIFF format images. They've got a stack of them, and you just feed it into a program, who then takes that stack of images and gives you a 3D model, and you just print it out. So it's crazy. You can,
That is crazy.
and it's free as well. I'll find it and send it to you. I should actually make a video on it. But that was game changing, because I didn't know what I was looking at, the bones on the penguin. So I just went into that, downloaded it, pulled it into Blender, and there I had my 3D model. It's crazy.
Wow.
That is
So
cool.
free. Yeah.
That would really help with some of the mammals that we find that, may have associated or articulated bones. Like I have a few rocks that I know that some stuff is together in.
Yes.
And I'm scared I don't have the tools yet, and so it's there's no harm will come with that to them right now, but when I want to get into them, I've got some special rocks hanging around that nice. It is really nice. It would be very good to see what I'm not going to damage.
The Oregon coast concretions are very similar to the ones I'm working on, so they work really well with vinegar and B72. I don't know if you've seen what's that university or that museum where a lot of where Bobby Busseneck is at.
I mean, there's
Virginia.
I'm not sure.
He does a lot with vinegar. So vinegar is probably the safest one if you just do small amounts with it.
I've already I had a scoot from an ancient what are those guys, the really big
sturgeon.
Yes, thank you. How is it I gave you nothing and you still plucked my brain? Thank you so much for
you
that.
Say ancient one and the really big, and I'm like, it's gotta be a sturgeon.
And I've been working that out of the matrix, and nice. And it went too fast at first. I had to tame the acid, and I thought there's no way that vinegar is gonna, well.
It does.
I have some shriveled grape scoot on one side. A little bit. Whoopsie.
The concept of acid prepping is so just mind-blowing to me, because all of the fossils I hunt for are so highly calcified that it's air scribe or nothing, really. I have some soft matrix stuff that I really want to get the air abrasion to work on, but you can't prep a baculite with acid without just dissolving the baculite.
That's the problem with anything with the shell, really. The same with the crabs. I've got a crab. I'll send you a photo of. It's a Tumidocastinus crab, the one I always find over here, but it's got some kind of coral growing over it. So you could prep it with a air scribe by scraping away the coral to get to the shell, but then you lose the coral. So I've been playing around with that dolomite in the micro aerobrasion. It's working really well. It takes a while to get into it, but it works really well. It leaves everything behind except the rock. So I started with baking soda, which wasn't doing anything. So the matrix must have been a bit too hard. So I went up to dolomite, and that's working.
Is it reusable, or do you have to do break back?
No, so I'm doing it in a one of those containers where you put your hand into the gloves kind of thing. And everything gets caught at the bottom. So if you just vacuum it up and then sift it again, it should be okay, and it should be a lot quicker to sift. It won't be a whole afternoon.
Right? Oh my gosh,
man! Talk about a one-of-a-kind specimen of crab covered in coral. That's going to be amazing. I want to see that when it's done.
It's I don't know if it's a coral or is it a bryozoa. I'm not sure. But it's something weird.
That just sounds awesome.
As
those are cool enough.
That's what I was just gonna say. You're all up in my brain.
I was gonna say we have a weird mental link. Yeah, exactly.
Give me 1 minute. I'll grab the crab quickly.
Yes, please. As though the crab wasn't enough, but having the something a fossil, another fossil in with that is just so exciting. I'd love to do that.
Not on the same scale at all whatsoever, but I do have some devil's toenails, which is their colloquialism. They're actually Griffia oysters, but I have a really nice one that's got an oyster growing off of the front of it, and then the worm shells. They grow little, so it's got a couple of those on one side. It's like, it's such a cool specimen. It's probably only worth like $3, but it's legitimately one of my favorite fossils, just because when I go shelling in Florida, you see that, you find shells that have other stuff growing on it. So seeing that in a fossil is just, it's so cool. It's
like that
it's
whole house that the hermit crabs have, there's just all this stuff going on. Yeah. Why not?
Well, here's the crab. I don't know if you can see that.
Cool. That's cool.
So it's got all those little bits growing across it, all over. So
that is so cool.
That is so awesome.
And what a pretty crab too.
Yeah, no kidding.
This it's in a weirdly soft matrix. So I don't know. It's not in the normal concretion, but it's also turned into fool's gold, iron pyrite. So parts of it is iron pyrite, which looks cool. But if it gets pyrite disease, it's over. It's always cool to find them.
Yeah.
When you
just remind me to send you a photo of that as well, because I don't think it was in focus.
Right on,
no worries.
He's listening. When you find things that have a different matrix material, is it typically from a different era, or part of the fossil record, or is it just the luck of the sedimentary magic? And does that change the profile of the fossil inside?
Yes, so you'll see that some of the crabs are really light and some are darker. So I'll show you the two examples. This one is quite a light one, and then this is from the same area, but it's a lot darker.
Hello.
So
I think that's really interesting.
So I think it's just the amount of iron around it, because in that cliff, from the top of the cliff to the bottom of the cliff, it's about 100 meters, which is 300 feet. We'll call it 80 meters, so 250 feet. And that could be millions of years between those, But I think some of I forget the term, but some of those concretions have actually started breaking down. So what do you call it when something starts getting eroded?
We just call it rotten. It's rotten rock.
It's like when your andesite turns into clay. It's that kind of process where it's slowly over time getting softer. So I think that's what's happening with some of the concretions, is they're eroding out of the cliff, and then they might be rolling around 100,000 years ago, and they get redeposited in a different layer. That's maybe 100,000 years old. So which makes dating really hard, because we've got concretions that have been redeposited in the cliff, so from a different era.
It's lying. It's lying.
Which is why it's really tricky to date.
I always, I'm kind of confounded by when you're walking along and you find those different concretions, and one of them's got a really light, flaky matrix, and unfortunately a lot of times the fossil inside also light and flaky, and then right next door can be one of those super dense dark slate gray ones that it's gonna be a pain.
It's gonna be impossible to break.
Of course, like the most of our like the cetacean and fun bones are in that, and a lot of the little guys, although I've noticed some people finding crabs in the lighter stuff, but lots of shells and some really interesting things. But that hard stuff is usually what you're finding, like if you're gonna find a skull or something like that.
I thought I'd show you this one. I just found it while I was over there. This is how I found it on the beach. So it had broken apart, and that's the cross section of the crab. If you look at it under UV light, that inside is actually filled in with calcite. So it glows that greenish yellow color. I always wondered what's inside these crab fossils. But this one's nicely inflated.
And now we know.
Yeah. That's like a
At least
perfect
with
cross
that
section.
But
Yeah.
will it take a polish?
That I've often thought about, cutting one in half and polishing it, but I feel too bad.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
And do you guys want to see my latest find? This is hot off the
yes,
press.
please.
I think I found it 2 weeks ago, almost exactly 2 weeks ago.
Oh, of course.
Wow.
So,
Fresh
yeah,
fossils.
and this is the one where I walked miles and miles and found it right in front of my car on the way back.
Oh,
So
my
I don't know if
gosh.
you can see that.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's so big. It's
It
even
really
bigger
is.
than I thought.
It's
For some
really, really
reason.
big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a turtle skull. That's the back of it. And it really looks like one that I've seen online, but it's really huge.
So if
That
it's
is so
not, like,
cool.
what else could it be?
I don't know.
Right?
Some weird frogfish thing.
Dragon.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Species.
Yeah.
Another
but
new
over
species.
here, I think that's where there's going to be a big hole there if it is a turtle. So I've just started prepping over there, and there does seem to be a hole. So yeah, but I was looking for this little bit up here because that's kind of that trident shape that turtle skulls have, and it's got that. And yeah, and it's very weird.
That is so
Weird bone.
cool.
I love the reaction, like not sure what this is, and that's definitely something that it's exciting, but again, like for all the stuff that you've seen on the beach, I'm sure that I wouldn't know a near bone if it hit me in the head squarely, like right in between the eyes.
That's a great point, actually, because Derek has found a lot of whale ear bones in Florida, and he gave me one, and it's like I would never be able to recognize this. If I was
weird looking things. Yeah,
it's just a weird lumpy rock.
And then there's a lot of weird things on the beach, though, that you pick up, and you're like, I'm bringing this home because it's weird, but I might never get to it because it's weird, and I know it's like.
And this one, I thought it was a vertebrae because when I just saw those two bits of bone sticking out there, it kind of looked like the processes of a vertebra going off to the side. But there was just something about the texture. It was different. It was very dense. So that night when I got home, I thought, let me spend half an hour, just quickly prep it. And as I started prepping it, the texture was completely different. I was like, what is this? So it's always good when you're like, what is this? Because that could be something good.
Yes.
But I've been looking for other turtles from New Zealand in this area. I can't find much. So hopefully it's something good and important.
Like a wayward Archelon.
Yeah, like some weird loggerhead or whatever it
exactly.
is. But I'm just imagining how big the carapace would be, the shell would be.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like the size of my car, probably. It's like
I was going to say Volkswagen. Yeah,
it would be.
Right?
Maybe it is a wayward Archelon.
The head is as big as my head. It's a big head.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, that's in line with my head, so I'm not doing the fisherman trick. It's very strange. And the acid, because it's such a dense bone, the vinegar is working really well on it. The penguin was tricky because the bone's so thin. I had to be really careful, very short, like an hour-long cycle with the penguin. With this one, I can do like 4-hour cycles, and you just get so much removed. That's why it's taken me such a short time to get to here.
That's a thing. Watching it bubble in there, you put it in and it's bubbling, and you're like, I can't imagine, putting something as delicate as that penguin in, and
that penguin.
You're like,
that penguin. I was worried about that penguin. I was like, if I come back tomorrow and there's no penguin left, I'm just signing out of YouTube, not going back.
Whatever happened to that Mem Lambo guy?
Shave my beard, create a new channel.
There you go.
I can't imagine how stressful that would be.
Beyond stressful.
I'm glad I didn't find it 3 years ago because I wouldn't have been ready. It's taken me a while. Once I started getting results like that I thought I would get, so you don't go back in the morning and you're like, oh, surprised that happened.
That's ugly.
Like, that's good, but I didn't think that would happen, kind of thing. It's, once you start getting those reproducible results, I think that's when you start getting a bit more confident. And then you'll probably mess up and dial it back a bit.
Right. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, for sure.
So where do you go from here? What's the next bucket list item? I mean, because you found everything.
A plesiosaur skull. I still want a plesiosaur skull.
Okay.
And if I could find an actual dinosaur bone on the South Island of New Zealand, they haven't found one yet, I think. So they've only found some in the North Island of New Zealand. Also by amateur fossil hunter. It's my book back here still. No, Joan Whiffen. She was a retired school teacher, so she started fossil hunting when she was like, retired, and she wrote papers and found a handful of fossil bones from dinosaurs and a plesiosaur skull, which is amazing, like perfect. It's got the teeth and everything where they should be.
Oh wow!
It's crazy. And the reason I want a plesiosaur skull is because they pretty much that big. You can carry them home. You don't have to.
I see. You don't need the helicopter.
No.
Yeah, or the trolley.
You don't want another leg day?
Yes. And there's a lot of plesiosaur material around here. I mean, there's every time I go out to a certain place, you'll find plesiosaur bones. Some of them are concretions as big as a car, so you just kind of look at them, leave them behind. But there's so many.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this is a possibility. It's not just
yeah. No, it's
pipe
possible.
dream. Yeah.
No, people do find mosasaur mandibles and with teeth in them, so they're out there. I just need to make sure that if I do spot something dinosaur-y, I know it's a dinosaur, and I'm not just like, just more plesiosaur bones. So I need to look at some more 3D models.
So, have you found a concretion that you can't bring back with you, but it's still on your mind? You still remember the location?
Yeah, I've got the location of 2. The one is a plesiosaur, 2 plesiosaur concretions next to each other. They probably, I'll try and convert it to feet, but they 2.5, 3 meters, so it's almost 10 foot for the one.
Wow.
And the other one is about half. So they're big and they're round. So they tons. They literally tons. And I think those ones are probably better left there. They're not moving anywhere. People can go look at them. But then there's another one that I found, which was a lot smaller. It was maybe 3 or 4 foot long and maybe 1.5 foot across. So it was just too heavy to carry. But I mean, if you had 2 people, you could carry it back. And that looked like it could have been a mosasaur, part of a mosasaur. Wow. But yeah, I've kind of left that as well.
Will
one day maybe.
Will it erode enough, like at some point, to know more about it?
Yes. So they're being knocked around on the beach. So one day you might see a bit more of it.
See, that's when you just buy the generator and wheel it out there and just start scribing away.
I was going to say.
Prep it on the beach.
On-site prep.
Not a bad idea. There's a lot of laws now around New Zealand because there were some news articles about people removing whale bones with power tools. So it's definitely a no-no.
Yeah.
That's why
I can see that.
I stick to the concretions I can carry.
There you go.
That's understandable.
Yeah. Carry or drag.
You'll find a way.
Yes. But I mean, to be honest, the small things I'm finding and the slightly larger things, I've got months of work here. It's not like I'm going to run out of things to prep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although there's always the thrill of the hunt, isn't there?
Yes, there's. No, and I see it as kind of my exercise.
Yeah.
air scribing away hunched over fossils, probably not the best for your posture. But you know, carrying a nice heavy rock in your backpack is probably really great for your legs.
Old school, yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs the gym?
Right.
Yes.
Do you go ahead?
I was just going to show you. This is one of my 3D printed crabs.
Oh,
that's
man.
lovely. So cool.
So I didn't
That
print it.
is.
So some of one of my Patreons printed it and painted it.
Fabulous.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, you have
so
those
that's printed
available,
at a
don't
third
you?
size. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't you have the 3D printing available for people to
Yeah. You can just go
Yeah.
to Sketchfab and then search for Mem Lambo fossils or search for fossil crab, and it normally pops up.
There
Or
you
you can
go,
go to my
people.
website.
Yeah. Check it
And
out.
it was really cool. I've had a few people from the States print it out as well and send me photos. So yeah, it's cool that it can just go across the ocean and people just print it out.
Oh man, if I had a 3D printer here, you'd probably be seeing them all in the background of my studio. Yeah, if
That's
I
the
can't
other
find
next
one,
tool on the list.
yeah. Oh,
And
talk
then
about
they're not
tools.
too expensive. I think they $300.
Yeah,
So
that's
they're
not bad at all.
No, what have I got? I've got it's right here next to me. It's a Creality Ender 3, I think. The Ender 3. And that's kind of like you know, everyone's got that one to start with.
Yeah.
It's like the Jeep of 3D printers. And I mean, it's fine. It does what it needs to do.
Yeah. Having one is better than none.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any way you slice it.
It takes a bit of time, though. You don't expect it to print right every time.
Yeah.
If you get that first layer down, it's fine. But sometimes that first layer just doesn't want to stick. And then you're like, oh, what am I doing?
Do you guys have more questions?
I have two, which he touched on a little bit, and one of them is how long does it take for the acid? Like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the acid printing. Like,
it depends on the rock type. So the bigger the grain size, the faster it is. I found just in general, because what it's doing is it's dissolving the calcium carbonate that's holding those grains together. So obviously, if you've got big grains, there's less to dissolve and more fall away. If it's really fine grained silt or mudstone, what I found best is I put it in for maybe like an hour, and I'll go every 15-20 minutes, and with a very delicate toothbrush just go over it, because what's happening is it's dissolving the bonds, but that mud is sitting on top, and it kind of stops the stuff underneath being affected. So you have to go and wipe that away. Whereas if it's really vigorous, it's kind of jumping away. But yeah, if I were to estimate a millimeter of rock would take me 2 cycles of 2 hours. Currently, the one I'm working on, the turtle, so it'll be about 4 hours. But I wouldn't just leave it there. I would go check on it. So I do it during the weekend or something where I can keep an eye on it. I wouldn't just do it overnight, because what might happen is, let's say you've got it in the acid overnight, and it's formed that mud layer over the calcium carbonate, the rock. Now there's nothing left for it to react except the bone. So now it's going to target the bone, because even though you've put that buffer in, there's nothing left else for it to go for. So it will probably go for that. And that's my very unscientific way of looking at it. I'm sure I'm skipping over a whole bunch of chemistry, but that's kind of my understanding. If you give it the easy stuff, it will go for it. But if there's none of the easy stuff, which is the rock, it might go for the bone. Also, if the bone's got the outer surface, it's really tough. But if you can see that cross section where it's got those little, the honeycombing, be very sure to block off that honeycombing with your B72, many layers of that, because the acid will go into one of those little holes, and it's normally calcite or something filling that in. It'll just keep going, and then you get terrifying. Yeah, then you get a really almost like a spongy
I
bone
was
at
gonna
the
say.
end. Yeah.
That was the raisin thing that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone makes that mistake. That's why I started prepping, acid prepping just random bits of bone to see what will happen with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before I moved on to something. Though the one random bit of bone that I put in there, as it started working away on it, there was an ear bone in the middle. So it turned out to be a really good specimen.
That's cool.
Wow.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
didn't expect it to be. It was just a random bit of bone, and there was an ear bone kind of tucked in underneath it. Yeah.
Wild. You wouldn't have
That's
known
cool.
if you hadn't made the mistake.
No.
That's cool.
Man, so
It'll turn you off to pickles and Italian dressing for a while too.
Yeah. I like the taste of vinegar, so every now and again I'm like, But I've been a lot better with using gloves because I'm sure it won't do anything in the short term, but if you do it for 10 years, maybe it won't be
Yeah.
that great for your skin. So yeah, I do wear gloves now.
Man, so
that
I can see now how like a big fossil with a lot going on, like the penguin. Man, that's a lot of in and out of that acid bath.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
what I had to do with the penguin with those ribs. So the rib cage kind of did that. So I didn't want to take away the rock underneath it because otherwise those ribs are just going to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to cover that with B72 and make sure that that rock doesn't dissolve, but the rest of the rock dissolves. So it gets very it gets very like okay, I've taken it out now. I have to cover this part, cover that part, cover this part, make sure that the bottom of the concretion stays flat because otherwise it gets round and the thing kind of tips over. And then you might break a bone on the poor penguin.
Yeah.
Man, that's an art form in and of itself. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. Did you have more question or?
I had one more question.
Yeah.
So, if some nameless person in Montana wanted to send you some baculites and ammonites to prep, would you be interested in that?
Yeah, of course. I'll give it a go.
They're forgiving. The matrix is really hard, but it flakes like a lot.
Okay.
So
I like flaky matrix.
Yeah, it behaves really well. It's dense,
good.
But
it's not sticky.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, well, I'd love to prep.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to pick out some pieces for you because I would love to see what you could do with a nice like baculite or ammonite specimen.
Yeah, I think I've prepped one ammonite from Yorkshire, one of those small ones, and they can be tricky. The middle popped out nicely, when you go for that last little bit, and it just popped out. I was like, yeah, that was quite satisfying.
Surprise!
Yeah, the baculites are easy because they're just a stick, but the ammonites are the tricky ones.
Yeah.
How about you, Kurt? Do you have a question?
I already asked the
right on.
one earlier.
Oh, you're on it, Kurt.
Nice. So if somebody was just getting started doing the fossil thing and wanting to be able to get into their concretions and stuff like that, or even just getting into the hunting in the beginning, what would your best wisdom be? And that would span all the way to even experienced people if you've got some wisdom.
Yeah, that's I'm still learning, so every now and again I'm like, that should have been obvious. But the biggest thing is what I do get quite a bit is I get emails from parents wanting to take kids out fossil hunting, and you want that first experience to be quite exciting. You don't want to go for a 5-hour hunt and the kids are hungry and thirsty and they've had to walk 5 kilometers or 3 miles.
Cranky.
And they're not getting anything. So I'd get in touch with, every local rock club I know of in New Zealand, they've got these outings where they go to areas which either have agates or they've got really good fossils. And then go along with them because they will tell you what to look for. There's nothing worse than going to a site, and I've done this where I don't even know what rocks have the fossils in them, because then you're like, You're just basically you're in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is, if you're in New Zealand, send me an email. I can send you a fossil in New Zealand. So I can send fossils in New Zealand. I can't send them out of New Zealand, unfortunately, because of laws and that. But what I do is I'll send people an example fossil. I'll be like, this is the rock you're looking for. This is kind of the fossil you're looking for. And maybe don't tell your kid about this fossil yet. Take it along and put it there, and then they can find it, and then get them really excited,
That's fantastic.
If you're starting out, what I did is I went out with the local rock hounds, because they know where to go and they know what's allowed to go onto. So don't go onto private property. The worst thing you can do as a rock hound and a fossil collector is to go on private property, because you do ruin it for everyone else. Or if you do find a fossil and it's in a cliff and there's only bits of bone showing, don't try and knock those little bits of bone out. Rather take some photos and send it off to the museum. If it's in something you can carry, like a tiny crab concretion, take it back. If it's something like if it's a vertebrate, so something with a spine, send some photos off to the museum, because that might be something really special. A lot of the fossils in New Zealand, I know, do get found by amateurs. And if I look at what Kent gets up to, a lot of fossils in Oregon also get found by amateurs. So just because you're finding it doesn't mean it's, as an amateur, doesn't mean it's not something really special.
That's true for Florida too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like
I think
it's such an amazing asset to be able to have,
the
amateurs be able to go out and actually do the collecting, because vertebrate collecting in Montana is very, very, very illegal. So that's something I'll never get to do here, but it's honestly kind of a shame because of how many potential discoveries are just sitting out there eroding in the harsh winter every year. Yes. But then you look at Oregon and New Zealand and Florida, and it's like they're literally new species discovered every year because of amateur hunters, and it's such a cool thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wilderness, that like
exactly.
The only people that are going out there might be hunting, or us crazy people that just like to get out in the back country and
exactly
adventuring, and so you're so right.
And we can go every weekend pretty much, whereas sometimes if you're a professional paleontologist, you get once or twice a year where you've got a nice field trip season. We can just go when the tide's all right. We just go out there. If you want to get into prepping, so I've been pushing people into getting, so tangled up, but this is what I started with. So when I started prepping, it's a Dremel 290 engraver. So this is what I started on the crabs, and I did it for the first year probably with just this engraver. I eventually had two because I would overheat them and they'd stop working. So I'd switch over to the other one. But I mean, these are fine for if you just have like a kid that wants to prep the crab that they find. Just get them, the proper air filter, the respirator, to wear, some eye protection and ear protection. Ideally a glove as well, so the vibration doesn't damage the nerves. But I mean, if they're only doing it for an hour or two, that should be fine. But this is what I started out with.
Good to know, everybody. You can be like just excavating your own fossils right now, old kids and young kids alike. Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a great way into science for someone that's young, that's or old. it teaches you so much, because you have to.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it teaches you so much because I'm like, with that penguin, I'm like, okay, I'm prepping a bone here. What bone is it? So you have to go download a model, have a look at all the models, and you're like, oh, it's a coracoid. And then you're like, what's a coracoid? You have to Google, what's a coracoid? Oh, it's the shoulder. So what's underneath it? Oh, it should be the sternum. So you're fumbling your way around actually learning things. So it's a great way of doing it.
It makes it real too. Like you can learn about these things that are long gone, and that you're holding it in your hand. I think
Yes.
that it's so visceral. It's so cool.
Yeah, it makes it much more real. It's much better than a textbook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great advice. All right. Well, so do you have more for show and tell?
Well, I thought I'd show you an agate.
Okay, cool.
There's a waterline agate. So one of our local ones.
Beautiful.
Boom.
Yeah, so it'll take a polish, I think.
There you go, Kyle.
Yeah, it's got a few fractures in, but I'll try and cut it. I haven't been out agate hunting for a while, but yeah, I think, and I found a little crayfish. If I can just find my crayfish.
Oh, I love this little
So
crayfish.
here's a little crayfish, and it looks like cool. It looks like a battered prawn. So that's the head. That's where sorry, there's the tail.
Prawn.
Yeah, so this is the tail, and the head would have been out there. So
that was a pretty cool
and
find.
This is, I think I'll have to use the micro abrasion for this because it's such a tiny little thing. Try and prep that.
Yeah. I've got like a little either a crayfish or a shrimp or something like that. That special pile of rocks, so that when I get to be 3 years old and not so terribly amateur that like I won't ruin everything. Yeah, it's in that pile.
And here's another thing I need to get back onto. This is that saw shark rostrum.
Oh yeah.
Those are the teeth.
Oh man,
so that's the rostrum. So if you think of a saw shark, it's got that really long nose with the teeth going on either side. So that's a section of it. And it's really rare because it's cartilage. So it's got these little, imagine paving stones all next to each other. So the cartilage is like that. And it's kind of in place still. And there's a few teeth all over the place. So they're kind of sticking out every which way. So I need to still finish prepping that.
Wow.
This is one of those ones I'm going to have to prep under the microscope because it's just so small.
Those teeth, like this is one of those things where you're just looking for something irregular on the beach. You're not looking for something specific because you'd miss that. Again, it's like chewing gum or something. It's like, what is that in that rock? You'd have to just take it home and look at it under the scope or whatever.
I was really lucky finding that because that beach where I do go to where I find the crabs, every now and again, someone finds a concretion full of really big shark teeth. So like 40 mako, size shark teeth. So it's like they are out there. And I was like, oh, that's probably what I found. But it's a saw shark, which is even more rare. So it's pretty cool.
So you had your tooth goggles on, so you kind of knew. Right? Got it.
It's really cool seeing it in the Matrix still, because when I went out with Derek and Kyle in Florida, we were actually finding the individual spikes from the rostrum. The rostrum's long gone, but you can actually find the spikes like with all the other shark teeth and stuff. So it's cool seeing it in the Matrix like that.
Yes. Well, I think that's pretty much all the things I've got around me.
All right. Well, thank you. Like we could try to squeeze more out of you. We'll just have to have you back on. Again.
Before we move on, I got to time out really quick because speaking of eye protection, I have a piece of wood in my eye from earlier today, and it is driving me nuts.
Yeah, nothing like an eye splinter to make your day. That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, what scribe, if somebody was gonna plonk down some money, what would you recommend?
I think any of there's those German brands, the Haufwerk, the HW brand. Then there's the
Zoics.
Zoic,
right?
Yeah. I think they're all very good.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Paleo tools from the States, which will probably be cheaper on the shipping. Yeah. They're all really good. I've got one of each of those, I think. And there's Ken Mannion. Yeah, Ken Mannion from the UK. He's got a lathe and he makes it himself. I've actually just ordered 2 new scribes. So one from Zoic Paleo, and one from the German brand. So they should come pretty soon. I
Are they?
splurged on it.
Yeah. Are they heavier duty or what's the
The ones I've got a really big scribe for the bulk matrix removal, and this one's between that really heavy one and my main workhorse. So it's just in the middle. Because the really heavy one, I have to be really sure there's no bone nearby.
Oh yeah.
Before I use that. Whereas this other one will only be twice as fast, but I'll be able to use it closer to bone. So yeah, that should be a lot better for that. And then the other one from the German company is probably the same as my main one, but they haven't had it in stock for like 2 years. So I asked them to email me when they get it in stock, and they emailed me yesterday and said, "We've got it in stock." I'm like, "Sweet,
done."
Yeah.
Awesome.
They said they'll keep one for me, so I said, "Yeah, please send me one."
Very cool.
I'm gonna leave this on the video because it's good information.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm sure that there's a lot of people, including Kyle and I, that need to plonk down some cash on a prepper tool.
Yeah,
I can't believe
they're
how
very expensive,
sorry.
but they're very expensive. But I prepped for the first 2 years with one from Amazon. It might even be at the back here. Not sure if it is, but it's a clone of the Chicago pneumatic, the CP9361.
Yeah.
So it's a clone of that. It's made by Suntech, I think. I think it is $200 US, and it's great. I mean, it's still going. I still have it as a backup, and I just take it in for new O-rings every now and again, but it just keeps going.
That's
cannot believe how much Chicago pneumatics have skyrocketed in price in the last 2 years.
They've gone up,
yeah, it's insane. I'm
it makes
very
me
lucky
lament.
to have the one I have.
Yeah, I wish
they're like
I had
$800 now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's crazy.
This Suntech one is made in Japan, so it's a really good quality tool, and it's $200, but they go out of stock so quickly on Amazon. 10 of them come in and they're gone within like a week. So
oh wow!
I've just put a reminder on them.
Which one is that?
It's either Suntech or Suntech.
Yeah,
and it's a CP9361 clone. So the stylus actually fits in that one from the CP9361.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they're completely interchangeable, because the Chicago pneumatics out of copyright, I think, because it's from like the 50s or 60s, I think, that design.
Yeah, they're really old tools.
Yeah, I've seen some really old fossil prep manuals, and they use them like in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's actually really good information to have, because I love my Chicago pneumatic, and I want to like recommend it to people, but it's just gone up in cost so much. It's like I feel bad recommending this tool if you're on a budget of any kind, because they're not really something you could just go out and pick up easily anymore.
Right, for the beginner that might be into it.
Yeah, if you're if you don't even know if you're gonna love it or not, like it's hard to recommend the Chicago anymore.
Yeah, if you do want a pneumatic one and not the electric one, then getting a clone, I would go with that. Because like
absolutely.
you say, you might find, spending 10 hours on a fossil is not what I want to
do. Spoilers here. That's actually how I acquired mine, is because someone else I know got it and found out she did not like fossil prepping, so she gave it to me.
It's not as exciting as the 100 times time lapse.
Yeah, exactly.
The 60-second short.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Hey Kurt, have you got some shows and tells for us?
Yeah, I'll be quick. And every tool that you've mentioned, I've been taking notes to look up later. I like to get into fossil prepping at some point.
It's so much fun.
We're gonna have to have a fossil prep show.
It's like fascinating in the way that your brain has to be wired for that kind of thing. But if your brain is wired that way, it's so satisfying. I love prepping.
I'm very, very patient, and I love detail.
Yeah. So you'll love it.
I find that people that like fishing like fossil prepping.
I
don't know if that Venn diagram is very large overlap there.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So the first one is just recently we were out in like the Grand Junction area and kind of rock hounding in the Jurassic period era, and found a cool piece of agatized wood. The outside is kind of like a reddish orange, and then it slowly goes into like a blackish blue center. But you can see when you look at it a lot closer, which is hard to see in this video, but you can see the wood grain nicely. And I'm gonna cut into this when it warms up outside. So that's a really cool piece.
That's good. Yeah, the ombre, like the blend of color.
Yeah.
When you cut across that, that'll be beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The wood grain and everything.
Some cabs out of it.
Nice.
And then the other piece I just finished. I took a piece of travertine stromatolite and polished it, and then wrapped it in copper wire. But you can see it's most of it is travertine, but on the far side right here where the white is, there's some stromatolite waves running on the side, which is kind of cool. And whenever it's backlit, I don't have a. One second, let me grab a flashlight real quick.
No worries. I forgot my one physical show and tell that I had. So I think it might be easier if I just pull up a video, perchance.
I have it so you can actually share your screen too. So
okay, then for one of them, I don't have a video. I just have a picture that I'll share, but I do have a video of the other one that's better than the one I sent you.
I thought ahead of time.
Yeah.
Thinking Kyle.
All right, so here is like the back of the wire wrap. It just looks like that. It's kind of tidy. The front of it, if I can get it, it has a really beautiful orange glow.
Wow.
To it, whenever the light hits it right, it kind of almost looks like the orange fire agate with the little orbs in there. It's really cool, but it's hard to get the camera to pick it up. But yeah, it's a really pretty piece that I have. I just listed it for sale. So
that's Facebook. A gorgeous wrap too. I like the back. That was very pretty.
I want to make more of those. The travertine polishes up really nicely. Like just on the 325, it already takes a polish, and so
much fun when you get instant grat like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, gorgeous, lovely. Thank you. Is that it?
Yep,
for now?
That's it.
All right. Walter, what you got?
So the first one is the one I don't have a picture of on my laptop, but I sent Kyle a picture, so he'll pop that up in just a moment. I had something amazing basically fall into my lap, and I would have been foolish to not jump on it as fast as physically possible. And that is a 14-inch, basically brand new Covington slab saw. And
Did it break both of your legs?
Oh my gosh. It was a process for just me and Alexis to transport that thing.
Yeah.
We literally had to rent a U-Haul just to go pick it up because I didn't have any friends available with the truck at the time. So we're like, just whatever, I'll just rent a truck, go pick it up, and then drop the truck back off. But it's a weird model because it actually will accept 12-inch blades and 16-inch blades.
Oh, interesting.
Which is awesome. It's got a 14 on it, but that means I can buy a 12-inch for more trimming kind of stuff for smaller rocks, or I can buy a 16 for slabbing actually like much bigger rocks, which is super exciting. The thing probably had about 2 or 3 hours total on it when I got it, and I got it for a steal. I'm so happy that I have it because it's the tool I've wanted most ever since I started. Like the moment I got into rocks, it's the tool I've wanted more than any other tool. So having one in the shop is it's so exciting. So needless to say, I've been cutting rocks like a madman lately. Just nonstop rock cutting. It's been running pretty much nonstop, and it's just it's amazing. Like I'm so happy to have one. But my other two show and tells, I was going to bring one of them with me, and I forgot it at the shop. Set it out, reminded myself, and then forgot it. But this first one was actually in my last video. Here, I'm sharing screen right now. This is one of the rarest Montana agates I've ever seen. And it's funny because it was such a dud at the start.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a Montana agate with purple banding.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's in the middle there? Oh, those crystals in the middle.
Yeah. It had a little quartz
Nice.
vug that ran through the whole stone.
Though it wasn't cool enough.
And it's so sorry. It's so funny looking at it like in the video. If you watch the video, the outside of the rock is just a very unimposing, boring Montana agate. Like you can't really, it's so dark that you couldn't really see into the stone to see any features. I kept it just because I thought it might be worth cutting at some point. It kind of had like a little bit of a blue patch on one side, so I was like, blue is rare enough for me to be okay with bringing that home, but it was such a mystery rock. I was like, all right, I'm going to cut this at some point. And oh my gosh, I was not expecting purple banding. Like I've literally have never even heard of purple banding in a Montana agate before. So this is definitely not going anywhere. A lot of the stuff that I cut is up for grabs, but I'm not ever parting with my purple Montana agate. That thing is so cool. And then this other one, I have to do this in a different way. I learned this last time that I tried doing share screen, that I have to actually open it first and then I can share from there. Oh gosh. I was editing earlier before we started, so my volume was all the way up and it just like screamed in my ears. All right. Sorry. Man, I should have got this ready beforehand. That's the wrong screen. There we go. Wait, no, what's going on? Why do I do this every time? Technology, man. All right, so this other one. All right, I got it up and ready. Kyle sent me a bunch of rocks actually a long time ago. After the first Makers Challenge, he sent me a box.
Which I forgot all about.
Yeah. And there were some really nice like agates and thunder eggs, and there's a big piece of Hampton Butte petrified wood in there, which I'm definitely excited to get to. But there were two weird agates in there that had this like, they just look like lumps of basalt on the outside and a little tiny window of chalcedony on the outside, but you put a light on it and the whole thing glows. So I decided to cut it, and the result was shocking to say the least. Did I close it? How do I play this? Maybe I don't share this. Well, I sent you. I guess all that was for nothing. I sent you a video on my phone though, so we're gonna just use that. How do I close this? Oh, there we go. So yeah, it was just this really, really, really cool agate that had this huge geode pocket, like nice big quartz crystals throughout the whole thing. But as if that wasn't cool enough, it also was an iris agate. So it had rainbow banding and parallax banding all the way around this just big, deep crystal pocket. It's just so cool, and I was not expecting that at all.
Hold on.
The first one, sorry.
Let me see if I can screen share. Give me one moment.
Okay. After all of that anticipation that I just created.
Okay. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on one second.
I can screen share pictures, but not videos, apparently.
That thing is beautiful. I mean,
it's
and
so cool.
That was out of the ones that Kyle had sent you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kyle, how generous.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much, man.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it's crazy beautiful.
And all of the banding around it is iris and parallax banding.
Beautiful little ice cave in there.
Yeah, it's so cool. I was not expecting that. I was expecting like solid quartz.
I'm pretty sure that comes from Washington.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure, because like a lot of the nodules that I sent you, I think came from Washington, or at least the Pacific Northwest for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to start cutting some.
Yeah. Go out to the backyard pile.
Yeah,
because
maybe stop being so generous and start cutting some stuff for myself.
They're so ugly on the outside, they couldn't be that good on the inside, right?
They're very unimposing on the outside. Like they look very bland on the outside. The first one I cut was more of a plume, like a moss agate. So I wasn't expecting iris or a geode on the other one. So that really, really surprised me.
Gotta love surprises.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's one amazing agate, and I'm very happy to have it. Thank you so much, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing it. Is that all that's in the bag?
That is all that's in the bag.
Today.
You can see I have another slabbing video coming out tomorrow when this comes out. So Saturday, because I've been cutting pretty much nonstop. So expect a lot more slabbing videos because I can't go hunting right now. So a lot of free time to cut rocks.
Yeah, folks love the cut videos, so it'll be good. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. We were having a discussion over on the Discord. Somebody had posted a bone and they wanted help IDing it. And of course, provenance and knowing anything about this stuff is so helpful when you're trying to go after an ID. And then, as we were talking about earlier, it also really helps if you've laid your eyes on stuff, because you start getting a rhythm as to like, okay, that's a bone, that's a petrified wood, that's a tooth, whatever it is that you're looking for. This takes time. And so what I thought I would share were a couple of things kind of pointing to that. I found this guy on the beach, and this is a rock. This is just a rock, right? But it's also a bone, but it's a rock. And there's a fairly sizable piece of bone there. You can see it starting there, and it kind of like is wrapping around, and then we see like the juicy goodness in the inside, and there's a piece trailing off here, and who knows what it is. It's just big old chunk of bone that we find here on the beach. And some of them are really recognizable.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are things that just are hanging out. And so like you were saying about inviting some kids along, you're probably gonna run across this stuff. And so different kinds of matrix, like here's a nice bone in what didn't look anything like the other matrices. And so this one's kind of you can't tell with this lighting, but like we have sandy color all the way through to blue and white and all kinds of different stuff. This guy, I picked this up because I was like kind of enamored with some of these shells have a lot of calcite inside, and so I was just going to kind of dig on in there when I get the proper tools and stuff. But when I started looking closer, and there's this right here, and we were talking about fishbone before, and I know it's kind of tricky to see. I'm probably going to have to hook Kyle up with a picture, but right here is a filigree bone. This is very symmetrical, and then there's this symmetrical guy coming out from behind, and so I got a little fishy there probably, or something else. But there might be an acid party or something like that with trying to figure out what that is. But really different looking. And so I have a close-up of this is a bone that I just, slabbed. And one of the reasons why I like to do this is I get to see it under the microscope. And I discover not only what the cellular structure, and Kyle does have a picture of this a bit closer, and then we've got a 40x and the 100x on this very, very bone. And you can this is actually a cross section of the whole bone, and so like kind of marrowy on the inside. And what ended up happening, I don't know if you've seen this before, Morne, but on the 100x, you can see there is probably some kind of an iron, the mineral just lining the bone, the cell structure.
Oh, no.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
You'll have
That's
to watch
awesome.
the podcast.
Yeah. No, I'll have a look.
Darn it. Or I can send you a picture. I'll send you a picture. Or the man behind.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, can you see
Yeah.
all along the lines? This is fantastic. Thank you, Kyle. And so this was a complete surprise. I hadn't seen this until sliding it under the microscope and switching it over to 100x.
Yes.
I didn't even notice it under the 40. And it's exciting to see this scientists out there. Why did the iron cling to the cellular bits of this? That just blew me away. I think that's so exciting. And you'd never know looking at the, it's otherwise not even knife worthy, like you're not gonna make a blade out of that or anything like that. Okay, so now we're on to he's shuffling me along. If you'll undo this one and go to the moving picture, Kyle.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was not quite where we've jumped to the end.
There's why the pictures are worse.
Oh,
there's some sneaky spoilers on my project down there. Don't look too close, everyone.
Oh yeah.
Don't look
too close.
So anyways, this
I'm
is
gonna write down the time for that censorship.
Yeah. This is a piece of teredo wood, and this is the a neat amalgam of fossil that gets to double down, because you have not only wood that is being petrified, but you also have trace fossils of the Teredo nivalis mollusk, the shipworm. And so this one really caught my eye. A lot of times the bones look like wood and the woods look like bones if you don't have your fossil goggles on. So I took this one because I was like, you are so weird. I need more Teredo wood, like a hole in the head. But like I also have a thing for wood. So look at the grain, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, this is like really like spread out grain. And so I was like, is this palm? Because that's like a score.
Yeah.
If we've got the more exotic stuff in situ, then we're talking about a really neat score. And so Kyle's slides, there's a picture of the closer up so that you can kind of see. I made a nice thin, I made several thin slices so that I could get it under the microscope, because I don't have the cool like mineral microscope. I have like the cool lab microscope. And so I can get really close and, see rotifers and stuff like that, and like really good shots of the forams and stuff. But I need to make these things very thin. So I got in there. Yeah, and sure enough, the slide that you guys saw with the 100X, I have definite grain, and so I can go ahead and make a thin section, which is why I got the faceting machine in the first place, like, if the truth be told. And of course faceting was a dream as well, but so I'm going to go ahead and be able to thin section that and make a positive ID on my petrified woods now. And so
that's cool.
Yeah, I am.
I didn't know you could do your own thin sections. So with the faceting.
Me neither, but like so here's the deal. Like, before, they had those super awesome things that they have in the labs now, where like and it's like it's a this way instead of a this way. Gotcha. That was so scientific of me. So the arm that's on my faceting machine right now, you can see the arm is coming down, and then it's got the table cutter, or the fixture that makes the flat part. Okay, so you take your sample, you glue it to your frosted slide, you glue the frosted slide to the dopper right at the tip of my finger. And you do 2 turntables and a microphone for a little while, and you've got a thin section.
Yep.
I need that.
Right? I'm so pumped. And so anyways, like, that's the macro to the micro on the ID of bones and woods and that sort of thing. Get out your jeweler's loop or magnifying glass or whatever, have a look at those, and you'll start getting an eye for what does the cellular structure look like, what is the like actual the patterns that they make, but also what is that sinewy looking glassy stuff look like when you get it under a microscope. You start really getting positive about, like, okay, that's fish filigree, that's some mammal bone, and you'll start being able to get it down.
Nice.
So that's my little
another tool I need.
So we've all infected each other tonight. I love it. Everybody has something new on their wish list. And so that's the show and tells. And so let's get into some words of wisdom, starting with Morne.
Well, it reminds. Well, the first thing I think of is this not the penguin, the turtle skull. So I walked at least 3 miles that day, up to a spot which I found on Google Earth. Parked my car, at the river mouth, and walked. And on the way back, I was tired. I saw the car, and there were a few concretions in front of the car, and I'm like, oh, do I just get the coffee from inside the car, or do I just have a quick look? And I had literally a 2-minute look in these rocks and found that turtle skull. So it's always it's always that last little bit of effort, and you find something. The same with agates. It's always that little island in the middle of the stream where you have to get your feet wet, where the agates are on.
Yep.
It's awesome. Yeah, gotta love that. The last ditch gift.
Yeah, it's always that one.
Never give up. Right on. Thank you. How about you, Kurt? Words?
I really don't know yet. Let's see. I'll just say, when you are needing help to identify something, don't just rely on Facebook, because you are going to get a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. Rely on books, and if you
and no, it is not a meteor.
Yes. Yeah. Rely on books, and if you have a local rock club, go there, and they can help you get the right information you need. So do your own research. Don't just rely on people on Facebook and Instagram.
That's great advice. Yeah. The Facebook thing is actually good for a laugh, though. I gotta say.
Know it is.
It is.
It's fun.
You get some weird stuff on there.
You totally do.
And probably not just for rocks, just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is happening with my camera? I just got so dark out of nowhere.
It's like a mood ring.
Yeah, like I'm trying to get it to get bright again.
Your emotions, Walter.
I am pensive.
Okay, so anyways, it's because you were turning colors because it's your turn for wisdom. And mood lighting,
the Zoom was just telling me.
Right.
So my words of wisdom are: opportunity presents itself when you least expect it, so be ready. I have two tools that I've wanted for over a decade. The other one I've wanted for as long as I've been in rocks, so almost a decade. And somehow, by weird random chance, I was able to purchase both of those tools within a week of each other.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you never know when it might show up, but be ready for opportunity.
I love it. Yeah, so true. Yeah, all these things. That's what I meant by your legs breaking, because there's all this stuff dropping in your lap.
I know,
like,
it's crazy. Dude, if 2023 keeps up this way, it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. Right on. Here's to permagrins.
Yes.
Yeah. Mine definitely goes onto the back of yours, and it's believe it. It's science as far as the nocebo and the placebo effect. And they've found it time after time that, with suggestion, if you believe that this thing is happening, there's this percentage more likely that, it's going to happen, both negative and positive. And so believe it, Morne was going to find a penguin. Karen's going to find a crab.
Yes.
Maybe in 2023, or maybe a nautiloid, one or the other, or I'm just happy finding,
You come to Montana, I can guarantee you a spot where you will find a nautilus.
Yeah.
So this summer we're going to go nautilus hunting.
Yeah. We definitely need to take the drive. You guys are on the list. And so, and we're driving out to New Zealand as well.
Yep.
Colorado.
A quick bike ride.
Yeah, we're gonna put Kyle in the car. Gonna put him on a plane. Actually,
I'm gonna walk across the ocean, or actually, I'm gonna walk through the ocean, like in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, just holding a canoe.
Yes, dragging Davy Jones' locker.
Yeah.
Covered in seaweed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's way too much wisdom for us all to have. And so we'd love to know where to find you on the socials, Morne. So tell everyone where we can find you.
So if you just search for Mem Lambo fossils, if you go to memlambofossils.com, there's a website there with links off to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. So, but also if you just search for crab fossils, it normally pops up. I don't think anyone else is doing crab fossils as much as I am.
Yeah, you've got that market cornered.
Yeah, I've got my niche.
I think you're also the reason why, marine fossil goes like my pumps my numbers every time.
Nice.
You're single-handedly helping that whole genre, I think.
And there's a lot less people that think I put crabs in cement than there were in the beginning. So I think it's helping.
Oh yeah, that's so funny still.
Make a challenge project, undoing crab concretions.
Yes. I really should do an April Fool's one where there's a busted video of me in the garage putting crabs in concrete and doing like
right. Turn it off,
busted.
It off. Yeah. That's great. Do you have any more words for all of your adoring fans out there in the audience?
Oh no, it's just I really enjoy. There's some really good commenters, and I recognize a lot of the same people on your channels. So there's some really good people out there that always give such good comments. I recognize your shout outs, Largent. She always gives like such good comments, and it's I read all the comments, even though I might not reply to each one, but I read every comment. So you get to know the people, and I just want to say thanks. There's so much knowledge coming through those comments, and there's some actual paleontologists that comment and all send me emails, and those are so valuable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Yeah, it's a loving community.
Yeah, it is.
Not only the folks that are watching, and we love you, but also the folks that are part of the community as far as being the paleontologists and the fossil hunters and stuff like that. I'm amazed at how much help and guidance and support there is in that community as well. So thank you guys all out there. And help us out with the next show and tell by sending any of your shows and tells to the podcast email that's in the description. Also, if you want to join us on the Discord, same email, and I'll send you an invitation and you can come on over and show and tell all week long with us. And we've been having some interesting conversations like the dino bone thing, IDing it and how to figure some of the stuff out, or you can ask the questions right there and get some real-time answers, which is really helpful. So join us over there. And other than that, thank you so much for hanging out with us all the way until the end. You guys are awesome. And we will see you next week. Happy hunting on behalf of all of us. Cheers.
Bye.